Okay, I think we're ready to get started. Got everybody here but one. Let's go ahead and call the special meeting of the Lawton City Council to order. Please stand for the invocation by Reverend Alan Hampton, and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please bow your heads. Father, we thank you for your goodness and mercy. We thank you for the opportunity to come together as a community today. Give us wisdom and insight into everything that we say to do. Bless this meeting in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Hankins, Harris, Chapman, Gill, Hampton, Fortenbaugh, Johnson, Warren.
And we do have a quorum. Business item number 1, consider approving a resolution approving the redevelopment agreement by and among the City of Lawton, the Lawton Economic Development Authority, the Comanche County Industrial Development Authority, and Westwind Elements, Inc., a Delaware corporation, for the development of a refinery for the refinement of cobalt, nickel, and other critical minerals in the West Side Industrial Park, authorizing all supporting documents and instruments as are necessary and appropriate to implement and carry out the terms of the redevelopment agreement, ratifying previously approved development funding in the amount of $10 million, and authorizing its expenditure to be funded from the city's American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA, revenue replacement, and 2019 Propel CIP monies of such cost as are necessary and appropriate to construct and install certain public improvements to serve the redevelopment. Our staff information source is Richard. Richard, it's all yours.
Okay, yeah, we're on. So there was a thing that said on off right there, and I wasn't sure what it meant. I'm sorry. It's been a little while, right? So I'm nervous again. Anyway, so while the LEDC, so obviously, as you know, this has been a community of event of people working together. You have CCIDA that about 20 years ago purchased the 480-acre property and is providing funding for this agreement. You have the City of Lawton that has, the city itself, the community itself approved the CIP that provided the funding for economic development and industrial development and the roadways. And you have the steady project plan that was approved by the city that created the tax incentive finance districts that allows us to reimburse that industrial development funds and to reuse those and put them back into the community again. And yet, so it's just, you had a lot of work, and the city's been building infrastructure out there, and the LEDC has been working, for years to recruit and has done a great job in the past of getting industry to our town. And this time they kind of went overboard in a good way. So this is a significant project, This is not a small deal. Now, on August 23rd, the City Council, LEDA, and CCIDA, and the LEDC all approved a term sheet that set forth. At that time, the project is called Blue Braveheart. As we know now, it is Westwind Elements, Inc. that we're doing this redevelopment agreement with. But we approved that term sheet that had the terms of the deal was sort of laid out at that time. Those terms are the same as you all approved back then. What we have is lots of background information that really protects those terms and flushes out and makes them unconditional and clear to everybody. So we'll start off with the redeveloper is going to be making a $150 million investment in phase 1 in the project out on that 480 acres. That $150 million is made up of the public incentives and the private funding. They'll have $126 million of private funding that they will have to produce unconditional letters of before the public assistance will be released. The public assistance consists of $10 million from the City of Lawton as a cash incentive, $2 million from CCIDA as a cash incentive, and also the deed for the property of the 480 acres. It's located south of Lee Boulevard, south of Goodyear. That's on both sides of 112th Street. That property will be as part of that property is valued at $12 million, so that provides there's a $24 million public incentive and a $126 million private investment for the first phase. In exchange for that first phase, that company will invest that money into that project and build that this refinery. Now, a lot has been put out that it's a cobalt refinery, and that's kind of one of the elements people talk about. But this agreement does not limit it to cobalt. This agreement says the wording is nickel, cobalt, and other essential elements. So it's important to know that this refinery, this project, has some flexibility to refine whatever the best thing, and whatever ore you can get, whatever you can do, because this process is very unique. I'll get into it a little bit later, but the process for refining these elements is very unique, and in fact, it's patented. The other thing that we will have in our community is over a 5-year period, there'll be 2,335 jobs brought to the community, employed directly by this industry at an average salary of $100,000. Now, the assistance that we provided in this agreement, the $24 million assistance is provided as a forgivable loan. So they have to perform those jobs. Those job creation has to be performed in order for that loan to be forgiven. If they do not meet those requirements, they would have to pay us back after year 6 of that development. And the jobs that they're showing here are 200 jobs in year 1. This is part of the agreement. 200 jobs in year 1, 684 by year 2, 1,168 by year 3, 1,752 by year 4, and 2,335 by year 5. And so their forgiveness goes in that regard. And it's important to know that average salary is so if I had 100 employees and I only averaged, say, $80,000 with those 100 employees, I don't get credit for 100 employees. You move up that number until you get to that average, and that's the number of employees you get credit for. So they'll likely have more employees than 2,335, but we're only going to count the ones where the average is above $100,000. So again, a significant aspect to this. The property, as you all know, you all recently annexed a portion of that property, the 160 acres. The steady project plan will have to be revised, modified in order to include that property, and also increase the budget on that project plan, because this is such a big project. So that'll come before you in the future. As you know, the reason industrial development is important is for the jobs. That's what we all do it for. Creating jobs creates wealth in your community. The REMI model on this particular project shows that the original 2,335 jobs will create an additional 2,500 jobs. So we're really talking about 5,000 new jobs in the community, and an additional $380 million in salaries a year. Every year, $380 million in salary. Now that doesn't come to the city. That goes to the community. That goes to the people that are working in the community. So there's an additional salary to that. It will create an additional $3 million to $4 million in sales tax, in sales tax that comes to the Lawton community. So there is real tax money that's going to come to our community that will increase our tax base. But it's going to increase everybody's tax base. Okay, so I lost myself. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the process. So one of the things I want to make sure we're clear on is that this redevelopment agreement says that it has to be an American company. It's not going to be a foreign company. There is CVMR is a Canadian company that really has the patents on this refining process, which is the magic behind this whole deal, really. And they are a Canadian company, but this is going to be an American company. And in fact, there's a certain U.S. government program that they plan on getting into, which actually specifically says it's the Chinese and important imports program that, so basically what we're doing is, it's very important that this project is something that frees us from importing critical elements from other countries, including China. So that's why this is such an important project for our community. Now, I'll talk a little bit about the process. Now, I'm certainly not an expert on it. I don't think anybody here is an expert on it. It's a patented process. It's a very unique process. It's called a carbonyl gas extraction. So what they're doing, and carbonyl gas is CO. It's a double joined molecule of carbon and oxygen, and they pass that through the ore, and it captures the ore, the metal, the element they're looking for, as a gas. They take the element off of, the element off of that gas, and then recycle the carbonyl gas. So there's not even a gas release of carbon monoxide or anything like that. And so you bring in ore, which is an inert material. You extract the element, nickel, cobalt, whatever element you're getting to, and what's left is an inert material that is pretty much just like you got there when you started with. Now, they are certifying themselves as being environmentally zero, what is it? I can't
Environmentally neutral.
Neutral, yeah. And so that's important. But beyond that, I mean, especially this was an additional import from the city attorney's office. We have actually environmental insurance. So they are actually required to obtain insurance. So we believe they're going to be environmentally neutral, but they also have to obtain insurance to protect them in case there is a problem. So it really protects them and protects the community in case there is a problem, to clean the problem up. So we've tried to cover every base in this agreement to make it something that it's a good agreement for the community, it's a great agreement for the community, a great project for the community, but it also is as safe as we can make it for the community. Any industrial development, there's a level of risk. I mean, this is kind of an investment. It's exactly an investment. It's an investment in the future of the community. And to that end, these things can always go one way or the other, but it certainly looks like a very strong project. I think that might be it. Did I miss something?
You can talk for just a minute about how we get our money back and the TIF and all that.
Absolutely, yeah. So I talked about the forgivability as part of the program. So if they didn't have those jobs after year 6, they would actually have to pay us back directly. We hope that doesn't happen. We actually hope they have the jobs and that doesn't happen at all. The Tax Incentive Finance District. Following this, as another agreement, there'll be an MOU, a Memorandum of Understanding we've done this on the other project, between LEDA, City of Lawton, and in this case CCIDA also, since they put money into the project. And what that will do is that will, as the TIF revenue come into the project, as LEDA receives that funding, in addition to sending it out with the other elements, a little parts of it goes to the schools, the county, the health department. A good piece goes to STEM education. And it goes to project implementation, but there's a very, like 60-something% will go towards refunding the city, CCIDA, for their investment on this. From the projections, it looks like we will actually have the city and CCIDA will be repaid by year 10. And so that's what it looks like it'll happen. The projections show basically a total of about $52.5 million over the 25-year period coming to LEDA for project costs and other costs within the industrial area. So as any of the money that comes in that area, other than what's dispersed to the taxing jurisdictions, has to be spent in project costs that are within that project area. It's a fairly large project area. It's the whole industrial area, and it even includes Lee Boulevard. It includes the industrial area by the airport. So it's a large area, but that all has to go back into there to refund those things. Now, we have anticipated that in this project, as we discussed before, we will be capturing sales tax through a formulaic approach to capture those sales taxes for the employees. That'll all be approved as part of the steady project plan agreement. But the important part about that is that sales tax will receive a state match on that. So actually, the $16.8 million that we would get from sales tax, we would anticipate getting a state match on that same amount over that 25-year period. So it's a good project for the community.
Council, do you have any questions?
I understand they're going to start construction this year, and then once they're projected, they're going to open it as they go in phases.
Yes, so, good point. I missed a few things. I am actually nervous being back in front of here all of a sudden. So, per this agreement, within 15 days of signing this agreement, our side, CCIDA and the city, has to put our documents into escrow. The escrow agent is Bank First, and the money will be put on deposit. It'll earn interest. Their interest will be paid to the city and CCIDA respectively at the end of whenever this escrow is perfected. I forgot, I lost myself again. So it'll go into escrow. Then they have 180 days to bring their documents. They have to show an unconditional guarantee of their $126 million of funding. They present that to us. We prepare the escrow documents, give it to the escrow agent, and they'll release the funding. So they have 6 months to do that. This agreement requires that they start construction by December 31st of this year and complete it in 18 months. The important part is the start of construction, because that's when we all start breathing easy. Once any of these projects get started, that's when you know it's going to happen. So, did I answer your question?
Thank you, Richard.
Other questions, council? Yes, sir.
Are we going to have a comment section? I don't have a question. Go. Boy, this was a long time coming. The one thing I wanted to make sure during my time on the council was that we added more jobs and we built the sidewalk to Eisenhower. This could finish that deal off, so y'all might get rid of me. You know, it's been over 40 years since Goodyear. And now we've had a lot of businesses come in, and that's not to slight them, but this is going to be bigger than Goodyear. We're talking about, and not the ancillary jobs, not the other jobs that are going to be added because we have more population, but just the payroll from that entity per year is about $230 million when it's at its 5-year fully employed. That's going to have a tremendous effect on Lawton and on Southwest Oklahoma. I don't know that there's been anything that big, one single thing happen in this area. It seems like, you know, today is this is going to be weird, I know, but today is yesterday's tomorrow. And so tomorrow's here. We kept saying, you know, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. And so it's here. And so now's the time for us to take advantage of the opportunity that's been laid in front of us, because it seems like a perfect storm to me, because this entity produces a product or products that will support the military, will support aviation, will lessen our dependence on China. It's going to help the entities that are moving into the FISTA, that are looking to build equipment and products for the military. It's like everybody will be able to work together, and I think we've just got nowhere to go but up.
Just a couple of comments. I've been researching this heavily for the last good while. Some key points that I see in this: the city is not borrowing any money to fund this. We already have the money to do this. That's good. We're not going to pay any interest on that money. I read a lot about this. I had concerns from 2 or 3 people about the environmental risks involved in this. And I don't see any. The way they do this, they bring dirt in, they do their process on it, and they get dirt out, and that dirt could be used anywhere. There's plenty of uses for it. The byproduct is the cobalt or nickel or whatever it is they're trying to create, which is then taken to battery manufacturers, I guess. In the past, when we mined materials, they would do some kind of acid wash to the materials using acid, which is no good. And you'd end up with the mineral you wanted and a whole bunch of waste. And they would keep going like that and pile it up and pile it up, and then 30 years later they'd have a Superfund site to clean up that the federal government would have to take care of. All we're going to have is dirt that we can use. Right now there's only one cobalt mined in the United States. It's in Idaho. Most of it comes from Africa. I can't ignore the fact that we're going to create over 2,300 jobs here in Lawton with the average salary over $100,000. And I personally feel there's a serious, most of the cobalt is refined in China and Russia, and to this day, we're relying on them to supply us with that stuff. And any time we can make them mad and they say, you know what, we're going to double the price or we're just not going to give it to you anymore. And then we don't have no more batteries. We have to consider that. And I'm really glad that Lawton's in the middle of this because this is going to be important for a long time.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I woke up yesterday morning wanting to educate myself a little bit on the environmental impact as well as the impact on people for the future. I mean, this to me is a decision that's going to affect generations in the future here in Lawton and their lifestyle. There are so many positive things that have been mentioned already about having an industry this large come into our community. You know, I try to make things somewhat simple. There's only so much money in our community, and it kind of passes through everybody's hands and then just circulates. And I think that this is going to be an injection into that amount of money in our community, which means there's going to be more circulation. And I say that for to some of the constituents that have called me. But back to the environmental impact, I took a look like Councilman Fortenbaugh was talking about the process. There's a company called CVMR that was mentioned that's out of Canada that actually set up a shop in Amarillo, Texas more than several years ago that actually has patented this process of there's a vaporing process where they use heat to extract this metal, and then thus everything is somewhat left intact. I'm pretty secure after all of my research that there are, as long as the people that are running it and the people that have made the commitment to us, I believe that they have a commitment to keep our community safe and clean and all of our people. And then it was mentioned that there is some insurance money that is going to be provided in the event there is any situation that comes up. I'm extremely excited for our community. I'm extremely excited for our future. And I think that this is going to be one of the things that's going to put Lawton on the map. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Gill. I asked my question, now I get to comment. I just want to repeat something that Fred Fitch said in the meeting earlier. A city the size of Lawton, with the opportunities that we give, gets a chance like this on an average of once in 75 years. We had Goodyear. That was our first big deal. That was 45 years ago. So we're way ahead of the average, actually by half. It's a great opportunity. Thank you.
I'm not going to repeat all the positive things my council members have already said, but that I totally agree. I want to thank all the people, all the different entities who have been working on this for such a long time. We've been promising something's coming, and it's here. And not only will we have those 2,300 employees up to 5,000, but I'm thinking also in other ways, branching out, other businesses coming here, retail, shopping, all those different kinds of things, real estate, housing, the medical field. We're going to need a lot of that coming into Lawton to help support all of this. So thank you, every single one of you who've worked so hard on this.
I knew you would steal my thunder.
Good.
But what I heard out of that was blah, 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 shopping, blah, 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 blah. Seriously, I want to echo the same thing. A Lawton Economic Development team has worked very, very hard and to bring this about, and it should be stated, I think correctly, the CEO is from Bartlesville, or was born in Bartlesville, and so there are some local ties that help bring this, and it was important to that team that they bring this to Oklahoma. And our team grabbed it and ran with it and did a fantastic job. But one of the things that was said to me, and I heard this last night in the Southwest Oklahoma legislative reception, is people all over the state are talking about Lawton, Oklahoma, going, what's going on in Lawton? What's going on in Lawton? How are they doing all this? And it's because we have a great team, but more important is because we have great people. The secret to Southwest Oklahoma is the people, hardworking, kind, deliberate, and the team, the same people you see in all the events are sitting right back there, and they've done a great job, and I'm proud to call you guys friends, and thank you again tremendously for this. This is huge.
We have listened to the experts along the way on this. I have all the confidence in the world in the people that we've listened to about this project. I believe that Lawton is really on its way up. I think we're going to have to get some of the other things that Michael Hart talked about that support that kind of thing. We need things for families to do, and we're working on that. We've got a lot of things going that I think is just going to peak out, and we're going to keep on going. I do know I'd been in Oklahoma City at a doctor's appointment, and the lady said, boy, you guys are from Lawton. I hear Lawton's really moving up. And I believe it is. We just need some steak places to eat and some things like that.
And women's retail. Yes. Well, I've got to say, Council, I'm impressed. Everybody's done their homework and studied up on this. Randy and I'm not sure if anyone else was at the meeting with Cameron Kozan. But we had a great visit with Cameron, visited with him for quite a while. He's an incredible guy, an incredible company. I urge everybody to research CVMR on the internet. Research him. It's an amazing technology. His patents are all about environmental friendly refining of these things. I realize that's not what Facebook said. But frankly, Facebook is where you go to be misinformed. And so I hope you will go to CVMR website and research that. I also want to mention something I never hear anybody say, and having met the CEO, Kaylee, there is a patriotic element to this that's not getting talked about enough. The importance of what this is to the country, and the name West Wind is their way of projecting that patriotic element. So, and it's fitting that they choose Lawton for itself, because we are patriotic. It's what we're about. Have a motion? Have a motion to accept the resolution. Is there a second? So there are forms at the back. Per the rules, there are forms at the back to fill out if you want to speak. I'll tell you what we're going to do. Here are the rules that we have, and we're going to go ahead and open this up because we're not here to shut anybody out, but we do have rules. But we're going to go ahead and allow 15 minutes for and 15 minutes against. That's our standard, okay? 3 minutes per, okay? And you're going to help me with the timing? Now, typically we do that before we have a motion, and I'm in the middle of a motion, so I have to finish it. I have a motion. Do I have a second? Okay. Now, council, before we have more discussion or debate, we're going to bring up the citizens to speak. And so we'll receive, did you want to come on up? Come on up, sir. We need your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Councilman, ladies, sorry. Richard J. Warren, 2418 Northwest 80th Street. Richard J. Warren, 2418 Northwest 80th Street, Lawton, Oklahoma. I am currently a state committee member with the county GOP. I researched this company myself as well. I had some very interesting developments when I started looking at the individual's bio, such as Leah Long. She spent several years in the Congo flipping governments over there. I have issues with that we have a founder of this company that spent time in a foreign country making sure that they got the right government in place in order to get the materials they need. That was the first thing that jumped out at me. Second, I called their headquarters today, talked to them in Bartlesville, asked them who their major investors were since it's hidden on their website. They are not announced. They refused to acknowledge who their major investors were. So I asked the hard question, are you affiliated in any way with the CCP? She hung up the phone on me. So I agree big business needs to come to Lawton. I'm all for that. But are we willing to sell our soul out to a company that looks good on the surface that we have not thoroughly researched, that is affiliated with the Communist Chinese Party? That's all I have. Thank you very much.
We just need your name and address, please. And then you have 3 minutes.
My name is William Dirks. My address is 2006 Northwest Baldwin Avenue here in Lawton. I'll try to make it quick. The Congo provides 70% of the world's cobalt, and I know this refinery is for more than cobalt, but Harvard professor on modern-day slavery, Sir Dare Kara, just said recently in the last 20 days that there is no ethical mining practices in the Congo. He provided proof for pictures and videos that showed child labor, and there's been a lot of talk in a lot of news organizations. I'm sorry I don't have the references. I just found out about this meeting yesterday. But the Congo runs on child labor and has been likened to blood diamonds from the Congo. Also, this company has only been incorporated for less than a year. On their SEC filings, from what I can find, they say they have no capital. Another website says they only have $17 million in capital. I look at their website, and the address they give for their headquarters is a college. On another website called West Wind Enterprises that Kaylee also runs, she's a political consultant that's done work in not only the Democratic Republic of the Congo, but also Venezuela, and I forget the other country, and she's a political consultant. Nobody at the actual West Wind Industries, or Elements, has any mining or refining experience, and I think it's only appropriate that this council should release all the information that was viewed in order to say that this is a good investment of our money. This company, West Wind Elements, has only been around for less than a year. They're a Delaware corporation. Their Delaware corporation filings and SEC filings are from June of last year. This business has no evidence that they are successful or can be successful in this field. The company you're talking about, based out of Canada, the agreement that we're viewing today is an agreement with Westwind, not the company in Canada. And Westwind has no evidence.
You have 15 seconds, sir.
Okay. Westwind has no evidence of success or anything. And I recommend, I suggest a motion that any vote on this resolution should be tabled for at least a week to give the citizens a lot of time to review all the information that the county has reviewed.
And
Thank
we're
you.
over time. Thank you for coming. Is there anybody else that would like to come? Come on up, ma'am. And we need your name and address, please.
Donna Watson, 151 Northwest 36th Street. This is very, very exciting for Lawton, and I'm anxious for this to come about. My concern is, or my question is, when this does become real, I hope a factor will be taken seriously about using local businesses as much as possible. I think it's very, very important. I know many of our businesses in town, their mouth is watering. They're so excited about this, so anxious about what this could do for their business. And I think it's very, very important that everybody in charge should take this into deep consideration. I know you can't use everything local. I understand that process. I own a business. I know what goes on. And that's my concern and my request, that this be taken very seriously.
All right. Thank you so much for coming. Is there anybody else that would like to come up? Come on up, sir. And we need your name and address, sir.
Brian Bocek, 1408 Northwest Arlington. I'm curious about the jobs themselves, the 2,300 jobs. Oh, yeah. Is that a little better? All right, thanks. The jobs themselves, everybody keeps comparing this to Goodyear, and I mean, any Joe Schmo off the street can get a job at Goodyear if, they've got some experience and the know-how and the will. But from what this sounds like, we're looking at six-figure income for everybody who's working at this new cobalt refinery. I mean, what kind of training is going involved in this? Can anybody get a job there, or is it just more like janitorial work they're looking at? Is this opening up opportunities for these people to go elsewhere as well? Are they just going to start here? And also, where are these people coming from? Are they only locally in Lawton? Are we going to get some people from Elgin, which depletes our sales tax coming down from that? I mean, we're looking at $380 million a year in income over here just on the sales or the payouts themselves. The salaries is what the word I was looking for. I mean, how much of that's going to sales tax and how much is not going to sales tax? If we've got 1,000 people from Lawton working over there, well, that really kind of depletes the purpose of the whole thing is what I'm saying. And, I mean, are these jobs going to be around forever as well? I mean, is there room for growth within the company, or are these people kind of stuck, kind of looking in that type of sense? And also the environmental, I know this is a good, clean thing, and it sounds great. I mean, just vaporizing everything there, but what about human error? What if there's a leak in one of these hermetically sealed reactors? Does that reach in Lawton? I mean, the winds were blowing from the west all day yesterday. So how does that going to affect us as a people is more or less what I'm curious about. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Is there anybody else that would like to come up and speak? Come on up, ma'am. What was that? And we need your name and address, please.
My name is Holly LaForest, 3914 Southwest Rolling Hills. While I think this is exciting, it's great, I am a hiring manager myself here in town, and I see the issues of staffing all throughout the industrial field. You're talking about $100,000 jobs. Goodyear's struggling to even stay staffed. Industrial here in town is struggling to stay staffed. At $100,000 jobs, what's the requirement? Census shows that only about 22% of the population here has a bachelor's. Is that going to take effect? Are we going to hire outside people? Yes, they're going to bring in revenue. but is this really jobs for Lawton residents now? That's my only question and concern.
Okay, thank you for coming. Is there anybody else that'd like to come up? Yes, sir. Okay, and we need your name and address.
My name's Mike McKee. 1834 Northwest 52nd is one of my addresses. I have had an opportunity to meet and spend time in due diligence with these folks from Westwind. They are absolutely sold out to the cause of domestic manufacturing, domestic good, and the betterment of our economy from coast to coast. And it just so happened to plant in Lawton, Oklahoma. The CVMR technology is unbelievable. It's wonderful. It's a shame that sometimes out of ignorance, some negativity can come out of a situation. Without bashing or going into anything that would be negative against negative, I would say that in general, a rising tide floats all boats. We are going to have a rising tide in our economy. It will float all boats including Elgin, Duncan, Chickasha, all boats including Altus, Duke, Amarillo, all boats including Wichita Falls, and it will be because of Lawton, Oklahoma, and Lawton's rising tide lifting all boats. Lawton's economy will absolutely explode in the most positive way we've seen since 1972. In closing, I will tell you, in scriptures it says, do not answer a fool according to their folly, or you will become like them yourselves. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Do we have anybody else that wants to come up? Okay, seeing none, we have a motion for approval and a second. Do we have further discussion or debate? Oh, come on up, sir. Now, we need your name and address.
Yes, sir. My name is Fred Fitch. I live at 3703 Northeast Kingsborough. First address 30 years ago, East Lake Drive. I want to address some of the things that were brought up by some of these people. One was one that was brought up in an earlier meeting. This Idaho mine that is producing cobalt. It's got a 7-year life, and they said, well, what are you going to do after 7 years and you've extracted all the cobalt? Well, I've been in business for 40, 45 years, and I had suppliers that I liked their product, but they went away, and I had to find that product elsewhere. And there's a lot of mines in this country and in the world that are mining different minerals, and they will find a source for their product. Talking about the investment, this is an experimental situation. Well, it's not necessarily experimental. This is a process that has been refined by Dr. Cameron Cozen, and he is going to be 35% interest in this company, Westwind, and his company will build this plant. And it will be built to the specs of plants that he's built around the world. He's building one right now to handle nickel in Amarillo, Texas. They have a process to where the waste is John, you said it a minute ago, environmentally neutral. And the old process, it was an acid wash. They washed that out on the ground, and then they had that acid they had to do something with, and they just made big piles of it. This, they will have clean dirt left over that they can use. They can put it in the landfill. They can cover our soil, cover our trash in the landfill. And there will be other uses for it also. This is not necessarily a virgin process. He's been working on this process for years. He's got over 30 patents on it. And he is world renowned for his techniques and his processes of extracting minerals from the soil. Management, yes. Kaylin is the CEO. She comes from Bartlesville, Oklahoma. She's very smart and talented. She's very wise within this. No, she has not run a refinery process for this, but she hired the best man there is to run this operation, to build this operation. He is wanted all over the world for the expertise that he can bring to a country or a community or whatever. Talking about China, in the agreement that we have, and we spent 6, 8 months, 9 months putting these agreements together, you cannot have an investor of a foreign country such as China, Russia, and other countries that are not friendly to American ways. China and Russia control 72% of the cobalt, and it's been stated before. They shut that spigot off and we're in trouble. Our airline industry, our car industry, our technology industry, our battery industry, and so many industries are going to be affected because they're not going to have cobalt. And we've got to have it to produce and continue to build products in this country. You're talking about don't have jobs forever. I don't know any company that does have jobs forever, but I'll tell you one that has had jobs here for a long time, and that's Goodyear. They came here 45 years ago, $250 million that they spent to build this plant. They put over $1 billion into it since then. They're getting ready to do another $350 million in expansion now. They are growing, and we are growing with them. We work with them, and we have given them money. We've done matched money that they get from the state, and it has enabled them to get that money from the state, and they have continued to grow. They're building tires for the electric vehicle industry. That is a completely different tire, and it has different weights. These batteries are heavy, and they are building those tires out at Goodyear right now. There's jobs. There's 2,335 jobs. About 700 of them will be engineers that will be in the $150,000 to $180,000 a year. The balance of those jobs will be made up by people making $50,000 to $80,000 a year. There's going to be jobs for everyone. There's going to be jobs that we don't have here in Lawton, Oklahoma, but we will have because they will bring these engineers in. And they will be a tremendous asset to this community. They'll buy homes, big homes. And then another example, the STEM program gets $3.7 million out of these dollars that come in back to the county. STEM was started in Lawton quite a few years ago. The first young man graduating from Eisenhower High School was a STEM Student of the Year for Oklahoma. He is back in Lawton, Oklahoma after having an engineering degree, head of Dynamics, that is one of the first companies to come into the FISTA project. Now, is that what we want Lawton to do, is create jobs that we can bring our children back home and they can be growing up in an industry that is going to pay them some money? I think we do. I want to thank you for the time. I want to thank each and every one of you on the council for the time you've given to this, but then also LEDC, Lawton Economic Development Corporation, Brad Paisley. Now, you're not that kind of singer, are you? But anyway, Brad Cooksey and his staff, and then the board of directors over there, the Lawton Economic Development Corporation, that is the one within the Lawton Economic Development Authority, which is within the fines of the city. And it's 9 members, and they've worked diligently on this. LEDA will handle the TIF and the money that comes in and out and getting it dispersed to all the different government entities like we're doing now on TIFs 1, 2, and 3. And then CCIDA, which has the 480 acres, and they are putting $2 million cash into that plus the acreage. And then the good thing about this, we normally put money into a project to bring them here to grow Lawton, and now we're going to get money paid back to us. That's a first. And we will get the $10 million paid back to the city to go back into doing more work in economic development, and we're going to get the money paid back to CCIDA so that they can continue to do the good work in this community.
Okay, thank you.
For all of you.
Thank you very much. And I want to say that I gave Fred Fitch, former Mayor Fitch, extra time because he is the information source. He is the chairman of our Lawton Economic Development Authority. Richard, did you have something that you wanted to say?
probably should have mentioned it during my presentation. And it has to do with mining. You know, whenever you're dealing with bringing in ore from outside material, you know it's going to be mined somewhere, and there is a concern as the conditions of some of those things. So we actually have a provision in our agreement. At least 30 days prior to the commencement date, the redeveloper shall adopt and require suppliers to adopt and implement standard industry policies. It's called the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development Due Diligence Guidance and Responsible Chain Supplies of Minerals from Conflicted and High-Risk Areas. It's called an OECD policy. And what that does is it ensures that minerals and materials are ethically and responsibly sourced. Annual certifications for some suppliers and sub-suppliers and their compliance for the OECD policy shall be required to ensure working conditions are safe, humane, and workers are treated with dignity, respect, and that all operating processes are environmentally responsible. I think it's the best we can do.
Thank you. Discussion or debate? Please vote.
Mr. Mayor.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
I might just add on the lack of training for prospective employees. Our city always provides training for new industry, so that won't be a problem.
And part of the reason we do economic development is to grow. And if we're not growing, we know what happens to our home and property values. They decline. Anybody else? Okay, I'll call for the vote. Motion carries 7-0. Okay, hold on for me just a minute. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and adjourn the meeting, and then we're going to, CCIDA, LEDC, and LEDA and City of Lawton will join down here at the table for signing the documents. I need a motion to adjourn. And a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Harris.
Yes.
Chapman. Gill.
Yes.
Hampton. Fortenbaugh. Warren. Hankins.